Hey everyone, Harold Fisher, WHUR News, doing this week's HUR at Home. We are talking to Roland Martin, journalist and commentator, about the state of Black America. And the reality is we've got some stories to talk about. Roland Martin, are you there? How are you?
What's happening?
Hey man, how are you? Sorry about that. That's what happens when we are doing this stuff from home. Let's
that don't happen to me as an alpha. That don't happen to me.
Yeah, I'm sure it doesn't. You're just
saying.
But you know, let's talk about let's just talk about some real stuff. And there's a lot to talk about literally just today. We've had this situation in Minnesota where 4 police officers were fired after the in-custody death of a Black man. Talk to me a little bit, about your thoughts about what happened just today.
Well, first of all, we've never seen something happen this quickly for there to be Gerald Floyd killed on Monday. These officers fired on Tuesday. The video obviously was egregious. People responded quickly. The city of Minneapolis realized they had a major problem. And so for them to be fired less than 24 hours later, 4 fired, is shocking and stunning. I had Samuel Sengawe, who was on my show. He's with Campaign Zero. They track these things. And Minneapolis, 13 times a Black person more than a white person is more likely to die at the hands of police. Highest in the country. There's a serious issue here, but this also speaks to what you're dealing with police departments in terms of police unions with their contracts and how they are able to get those jobs back. In fact, in Minneapolis, according to his research, 46% of cops who are fired get their jobs back. So people are responding like, yeah, they got fired, but look, they have not been charged with murder. So now the question is, what is the DA going to do? Will the DA charge them, or will the DA do they normally do say, oh, we'll take it to a grand jury and the grand jury decide? Remember, those cops can be arrested. They can be arrested and charged with murder and then can later go to a grand jury. But the way these DAs work, they're in the back pockets of police unions. And so the DA likely will wait until to take it to a grand jury. And so they're fired, but they still likely will remain free.
Do you think it makes a difference that the FBI is now investigating it? Obviously, we've seen some issues with the upper echelons of the FBI, but the rank and file still doing their job. Do you think it's going to make a difference?
Well, keep in mind, when the FBI investigates, they can only investigate based upon when you talk about federal charges. And when you say federal charges, that only applies to civil rights statutes. So they have to now come in and determine whether or not Gerald Floyd's civil rights protections were violated. And so it is a very narrow part of the law. When Eric Holder was Attorney General, he often talked about how Congress needed to change those parameters in order to make it easier for them to prosecute under civil rights statutes. You might recall the cop in North Charleston, South Carolina, who killed Michael Scott. There was a hung jury twice in that murder case. He did not go to prison for murder. He went to prison on civil rights violations because he pled guilty to those federal charges. And so it's still a long way off, obviously, but the next step is going to see, what will this DA do? Will the DA have the courage to charge them and indict them for murder?
Let's talk about this situation in New York where Amy Cooper, who was a vice president for a financial firm.
Central Park Karen.
Yeah, how about that? She was threatening a Black man, saying that he was threatening her, threatening her life. All of this over whether or not she should leash her dog in the ramble in Central Park. I just found this whole thing really fascinating because, even on the face of it, it didn't have to go there. This didn't have to be an issue about race. This to me was just an issue about, hey, look, common courtesy. You're supposed to leash your dog. I mention it, and then all of a sudden it goes left.
Of course. I mean, what are you talking about? You can't have a Becky. How dare she gets questioned by a Black person? How dare you? Who do you think you are?
Mm-hmm.
Questioning me and challenging me. What we have to understand, look, we have a segment on Roland Martin Unfiltered called Crazy As White People. And we have all these videos of white folks calling the cops on black people. The white woman who called the cops on the brother who worked for UPS. He delivering packages. She's like, you could be a thief. The white woman in Florida who asked a cop, I need to see that prove to me that you live in the apartment building as me. And he was like, oh, I'm giving you a citation. And so we can go down the line. We run these videos all the time because we're dealing with whiteness. The reality is that you have these people who believe that they have an absolute right to question black people. And black people, you don't have a right to, how dare you question me? The white woman at the Long John, at the Red Lobster, who went off on the folks because they were not being seated fast enough. And she starts swinging on the sister. And her sister then began to yank her hair out. Same thing. It's like, well, who you think you are? You're challenging me. I'm Margaret. I'm Becky. I'm Karen. I'm Amy. You don't get to question me. We're dealing with whiteness. And so white people, look, what's really happening right now in this country is, and I said this in 2009, we're going to be dealing with what I call white minority resistance. Even though white people are still a majority in this country, they are afraid of what's coming. The reason Donald Trump is so attractive to them is because he's speaking to whiteness. Donald Trump says, oh, take over these states, and they coming out with their guns and Confederate flags. He's speaking to whiteness. He needs white anger. And what you're dealing with is, and even let's just be real clear. I ain't talking about just white conservatives. White liberals do this. Whiteness prevails. And so the history of this country, look, just Sunday and yesterday, the chief spokesman for the Pentagon was tearing into the New York Times because they dared run an opinion column talking about these military bases named after white supremacists. So he criticizes the New York Times. Why would they run this on Memorial Day? And then he talks about how our troops fought against tyranny and subjugation over there. But he totally ignored black soldiers like Medgar Evers fighting against tyranny and subjugation over here, including in the military. But see, whiteness doesn't see that. See, what whiteness says, oh, Negro, I need you to get in line. See, the photos right now that we're seeing of the white cop, his knee on the neck of Gerald Floyd, choking him to death, juxtaposed.
Who knows what was happening
but
to the neck at the time.
Right, but juxtaposed with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. See, that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with whiteness in America that says, no, this ours. We control this. How dare you tell me to put my dog on a leash?
And to your point, Amy Cooper, of course, she issued an apology after the video went viral.
Not to him.
Right, exactly. After her company went and put her on suspension, and you know, to their credit, this happened really fast. Because
hold on, no, you missed something. You missed something. The place where she got her rescue dog took the dog before she got fired. Look, don't mess with white folks and their dogs not in America, asked Michael Vick. But her dog got taken before she got fired. Think about that.
And then, and to the brother's credit, you know, Christian Cooper, no relation to Amy, went viral.
Not right.
Him. He was on it. You know, his ability to stay calm, I think it speaks to what we already know is an issue about being a black man in America when you are confronted with issues of race. And as we have seen in the past, without the video, the story could very well have been different.
Oh, hell yeah. But see, here's the other thing that I got problems with.
What's the problem?
I got problems when in these stories it's Mr. Cooper a Harvard-educated bird watcher. What the hell is him going to Harvard have to do with the story?
Yeah. None of that has anything to do with it.
But you got to ask why.
Yeah.
See, but see, let's go behind that. If he was a Howard graduate or a FAMU graduate, it's not in the story. See, here's what even white media, this is a very fine distinction. Just like Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed black man. I'm sorry. Why do we have to use unarmed with black man? First, they had to do with the story. So where did it come from? See, what white America has done is we have to be the perfect Negro. We have to have the perfect Negro circumstances. That is Harvard educated. We have to modulate our voice. We can't be upset. We can't show anger. Now, white folks can say, heifer, who you talking to? I'm just saying, they can cuss Amy out.
Or just like we saw with the protesters in Michigan, with their weapons yelling at police officers.
In their faces, and the cops ain't moving.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we ain't doing this in Baltimore.
What we would see if that were a black man with an assault style weapon, storming the state capitol, asking for freedom and
look,
everything else.
I can tell you, I covered the new Black Panthers in Texas, and when they would come out with their guns, white people were like, oh my God, they've got their guns. The white folks do as well. So we're dealing with whiteness in America. What I need black people to understand, this is a powerful weapon. And the reason it is because this is not going away. I need everybody to listen to what I'm saying. This is not going away if Trump loses in November. This is not going away by 2024. Right now, we are 23 years away from America becoming a nation majority people of color. We are in the throes of what I call white minority resistance. They are girding themselves because they cannot handle the fact that the white point of view no longer dominates the nation. They have to take into account what black people think and Latinos think and Native Americans and Asians, because that's why when you hear I need everybody listening to me understand the phrases, American values, American customs. See, you and I may look at that flag differently than somebody who's white. They've been raised on it's pure. It represents freedom. But we also know that the cops that killed Gerald Floyd, what was a patch on their uniform? An American flag. See, so the white American values are apple pie, land of the free, home of the brave. Whereas we go, hold up, that ain't really how it's been for us. This is a generational fight. It is a fight that we're going to see, I dare say, over the next 50 to 100 years, because they cannot handle not being in total control and in power. And we're seeing this all across the country.
Now, let's talk a little bit about that total control and power. Another horrible situation, you touched on it before, the Ahmaud Arbery case that we see growing, some would say festering, in Georgia now that there has been a black prosecutor, a Republican prosecutor. I had a chance to speak to Ben Crump last week, and he said to me he hopes that this will not be another Trayvon Martin legal situation, that he does have some hope, some faith that the outcome will be different. Do you?
Look, if you black in America, all you have is hope. You have to hope for the best. What we have to understand, even in this case, is the protection of whiteness. The first district attorney, there were two commissioners, Glenn County commissioners, one black, one white, who said they talked to cops who said they wanted to arrest the McMichaels on the scene, but Janice Johnson, the first white female DA, said no.
No, right.
Then the second white DA, George Barnwell, operated essentially as the defense attorney for them. And he crafted this entire legal argument that laid out why he used citizen's arrest and stand your ground. So what's now going to happen is that's going to be a part of this case. So who's going to be on the jury? What does the jury look like? Is it going to be in that particular town? And so all these factors go in. And so we're dealing again with the difference between white justice and black justice in this country. And so we don't know what's going to happen, but the fact that it took, remember, 3 DAs were on this case, and it took the Georgia Bureau of Investigation coming in, and within the first 36 hours,
yes,
they arrested both of them. Mm-hmm. But again, that tells you, remember, that tells you a lot about those district attorneys. Now, can that black DA, I don't care if she's Republican, can she get a largely white jury to convict?
So I want to talk about this because this is, one of the things that I find really concerning for a lot of people, no matter what your color is. When you hear the term citizen's arrest, the first time you've heard that term is probably in some comedy show from when we were kids. I'm going to make a citizen's arrest, but these laws are on the books. And, I would argue, particularly now, it is time for these laws to be taken off of the books, because whether it is the McMichaels addressing Arbery, mm-hmm. or it is, a Harold Fisher addressing a Roland Martin because, I saw you, grab a honey bun in the 7-Eleven and I'm going to make a citizen's arrest. And the reality is, for most black people, if somebody says that to me, you're gonna do what? But these are laws that are on the books. But right now, whether it's a George Zimmerman or the McMichaels, it seems like it only applies to white people.
Yeah, because again, that's not what we do. And even in this case, they're lying. Because the reality is, if you look at the actual law, you have to witness it happening. They didn't witness theft. They assumed something was happening. And so it was all wrong. That's what you're dealing with here. I just think that, what you look at the stand your ground laws, what happens in Florida, and how very rarely African Americans were able to utilize those laws. I mean, I go back to, and it's hard for people to understand this because it's just, they don't want to. The laws in this country were designed and written not by people who look like me and you. You look at the fact that in Virginia, for more than 100 years, they were enforcing people who were formerly incarcerated couldn't have their right to vote. That was all based upon a state legislator in 1902 saying on the floor, this is to keep the darkies from voting. That was the basis of the law. So here you had 100 years later, people defending the law that was rooted in white supremacy and racism. That's what you're dealing with. Police departments in America were born out of slave patrols.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what they were born out of. So police departments have been used to police black people. The legal system has been used to legislate and to control black people. The system that we have that was not designed by us is doing exactly what it was designed to do to us. What's now messing with these people is the fact that we are now district attorneys. We're now police chiefs. We are now mayors. So we are now coming into positions of power, and we are now redefining what those laws now mean. And that's what's so unsettling, because we now have the one thing that they've always had: power.
Mm-hmm. But I would say that we are still struggling to redefine what those laws mean, particularly as it relates to what we saw happen to, and Ahmaud Arbery, what happened to a Trayvon Martin. And so that's, that it is still a very steep mountain for us to climb.
Yeah, because you can't, because again, though, we have to, first of all, we have to understand that, first of all, the election of one person does not alter systemic racism. Okay. I made this point when Obama was elected. The law in America didn't change because a black man, Thurgood Marshall, got on the Supreme Court. Virginia didn't just change because they got a black governor in Douglas Wilder. Massachusetts didn't change because of course you had why is it escaping me? I just truly drew brain
yes.
The governor of Massachusetts. A city, Washington, D.C. didn't just change immediately because Marion Barry became mayor. No. And so it requires us to attack systems in multiple ways. And so we can't get the thing is that we can't get frustrated when we think, that's it. No.
Right. Yeah.
Because
that's not the end. That's the beginning.
Because in mass incarceration, you're dealing with the DA, you're dealing with assistant DAs, you're dealing with judges, you're dealing with weak lawyers on the public defender side. You're dealing with the police departments. You're dealing with a whole lot. So saying, wow, got a black DA does not mean that the system has changed. It now means that we have somebody who is now a part of the system who can impact their particular space. And I think that's why people have to be in this. It's like I've been battling all these people who are like, well, Trump was the same as Hillary Clinton. Stupid. Oh, well, if you got Trump, you got Biden, it's just gonna be another old white man who wins. Stupid. Because what they don't want to acknowledge is the fact that how Obama was screwed by Mitch McConnell, and they had 100 vacancies on the federal bench.
Yeah.
Trump has appointed more than 200 judges. They are purposely appointing federal judges between the ages of 35 to 45, so they can serve their lifetime appointments, so they can serve for the next 35, 40, and 50 years. So do the math. If a 35-year-old, there was a 35-year-old white woman who they appointed to the federal bench. She's only 11 years out of law school.
Yeah.
11 years.
Yeah. And
if she serves 50
for 30.
No. Let's say 50. Okay. Look at terms of, let's say she serves till she's 85. We will be a majority minority country in 23 years. Do the math. That means she will serve another 27 years as a federal judge before, and that's if he's at 85. Okay, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is 87.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get people to understand that. Okay, they the same. No, Biden judges are gonna look different than Trump judges. And guess what?
And I
Obama
think
was only there 8 years. Obama was there 8 years. Judges will be there 40, 50.
Which goes back to why it is so important to vote.
But connect the dots.
Yes.
We got to connect the dots.
But also to vote, because like you said, you're not just voting for a president.
Right.
You are voting for federal judges, appeals judges, Supreme Court judges, all of that.
Right. And you're voting for the person who can shift resources. And then, okay, so now the person who's now president determines whether or not we're going to be aggressive in promoting the Affordable Care Act or we're going to try to kill it. It changes, oh, are we going to be aggressive in spending funds for the U.S. Census to do a full count? Or are we going to say, you know what, states do whatever y'all want? It determines.
He wants to even talk about some of the fallacies regarding mail-in ballots.
Right. I mean, what I'm saying, we can go down the line. And so what happens is, so here's what I do to people. People go, oh, man, you know what? This is not going to change. And I tell them, I said, do you understand that? And all people, well, too much government. First of all, that's stupid because government has an impact on every part of your life. The birth certificate you get is a government document. Your death certificate is a government document. Government is going to be a part of your life from the moment you born to the moment you die. It's just a reality. And it's hard for people to understand and get them to realize that every facet of your life involves government. And so the choices you make impacts your quality of life. And so what I try to get people to do is I'll say, okay, I say, stop. Give me the 3 most important things in your life. They go, what do you mean? I said, what are the 3 most important things you care about? What do you care about? And then when they tell me that, then I go, okay, let me explain to you how government impacts you. I had a brother came to me in the airport at Dallas. He goes, you know, you said people who didn't vote were dumbasses, and I didn't vote in 2016.
Did not vote.
He said you said people who did not vote were dumbasses. He said I did not vote. Was I a dumbass? I went, yeah. I guess he thought being in person I wouldn't say. I'm like, yeah, you were a dumbass. He was like, oh, I said, let me explain to you why. I said, what do you care about? And then he told me. I said, this is how the president impacts that, how the president impacts that, how the president impacts that. And he went, are you serious? I said, yes. I said, there's a direct correlation to the things that you care about, to who is in office. I said, you didn't connect the dots. And he said, wow, I'm not going to make that mistake again. He said, I'm not going to make the mistake again. I'm voting in 2020. And I was like, good. And then you won't be a dumbass.
I want to wrap up this conversation because we really do need to talk about the coronavirus and the impact on the Black community. We saw what happened in Lake of the Ozarks, what happened in Daytona Beach. I mean, Daytona Beach looked like the Greek picnic. Okay. And we've had, you know, a lot of southern states opening up now, just, you know, first, and then we've had some of the other states. From what do you think? Too soon? Not soon enough? Is it being done correctly from the perspective of the various and sundry governors? I don't even want to talk about how the president has been dealing with that.
Let them people go out there and kill themselves. Black people, stay at home. The reality is this here. We are clearly far more impacted because of underlying conditions than anybody else. Let me tell you something right now, okay? I can wait. I can sit my behind in the house and I can wait. I am not sitting here acting a fool because I got to wear a mask. I'm not acting a fool because I can't go to Essence or because there's not going to be a CDC weekend. Because here's the deal. And I've used this example, and you hear them talk about HIV, AIDS. Look, man, here's the deal. You can sleep with somebody tonight, and you can get HIV. Next year is going to mark the 30th anniversary of Magic's announcement that he was HIV positive. Magic's still here.
Mm-hmm.
There was a brother in Detroit where a woman coughed on the bus. Bruh was gone 2 weeks later.
There's and I think that's the point that I'm getting.
Dude,
but
this thing ain't. Don't play with this thing.
But let's talk about, you know, the other side of it. Okay, you know, I still have a job. Okay, you're still getting paid, I'm assuming. Okay, that's right, and that's a reality. Both of us are blessed in that regard. There are some people, particularly people of color, Black and brown people, and some white folks too.
Yes,
who are not getting checks.
No, a lot of them.
Yeah, and I think it's a very, very difficult thing to address. And I spoke to my neighbor yesterday talking about I stayed home, because I don't want to risk, my health.
This why it's not difficult. Death is death.
That's true. That's very
Let's
true.
go back. Let's go back to Gerald Floyd. Gerald Floyd is gone. Gerald Floyd wasn't tased. They didn't put the knee in his back and now he has a sore back or he has something with his vertebrae. He's dead. He is not coming back. There are people who have come into contact with people who were infected with coronavirus and they have been dead 2-3 weeks later.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so look, I'm not dismissing people who do not have jobs, but the greater problem is this here. Let's say that you do come back for your job. Are they going to have PPE? Are they going to have protection for you? Are they going to have gloves and masks? Here's the other deal. Are the customers going to come back? See, it's because the polls don't show. 80%
because
of Americans are like, y'all can reopen. See, here's the deal.
Are the customers going to come back?
They're not, because folks are like, I ain't trying to die, which is why we need to support those politicians who say, yo, we got to be sending Americans $2,000 a month for the next 5 months. People might say, oh, that's free money. Death is death. And the problem is so many of our people are dying because they are essential workers. They are working at grocery stores. They're working as bus drivers. They're out there putting their lives on the line. And we've got an idiot in the White House who can't even get the PPE, who said that, oh, people in the hospitals must be going out the back. He accused hospitals of stealing PPE. That's what you're dealing with. Man, this is death. This thing kills. But here's the other piece. There are more than 1.5 million people who've got it, more than 300,000 who are recovering. Have you read some of these stories? People who are recovering, who can't even walk from their doorstep to their car without having to stop and getting winded. I know a lawyer in this dude.
On my show just last week,
bruh.
Thank God she is recovering, but this recovery is not like a cold being over.
No.
She is still winded. She is still having issues, I
had bronchitis for 3 months.
With us, yes.
I had bronchitis for 3 months last year. It went away. Bro, there are people now, their lung capacity is never going to return. There are people who are on dialysis. There are young people who are suffering heart attacks and strokes. So I totally understand. But what I keep saying to people, this thing can kill you quickly. We ain't trying to chance that. And so we got to be as vigilant as possible, take the precautions, and we got to put the pressure on folks, say, man, open this thing gradually, because the second wave of the Spanish flu was deadlier than the first wave.
Yeah. Yeah.
More people died in Katrina.
The second wave that Fauci has been talking about, the possibility
real.
Of the and flu, because flu season is, where are we? May. We're talking another 5 months.
It's going to all be coming together. And remember this here: more people died in New Orleans, not from Hurricane Katrina, but the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And that's the fear. And so we've lost a whole bunch of our people, a whole bunch. We can't sit here and play games with this. And so we must say, y'all ain't gonna play games with our lives.
I think that's a great place to end this conversation. Roland Martin, I appreciate you spending some time with us and talking about these critical issues. Connecting.
Man, I have not talked to a Kappa this long, and I don't know how long.
Well, see, here's the thing about that. Okay, you see, because you remember, you and I used to be on the Council of Presidents back in the '90s for NABJ.
But
wait,
hold
on now, and see, I was on the National Panel of the Councils, so I had good brothers who came through Prince George's County, went to Morgan State with me.
I got you.
Look, they pledged Alpha, some brothers who pledged Omega. So I love them all. Some of the alphas are more trifling than others, but it's okay.
Oh, but here's what I do know. In the history of NABJ, there's never been a Kappa president.
Oh, yeah, because we're running everything else.
We've had 4 alphas.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Anything else, you know? All right, look, Roland, be safe. And continue to be safe. Continue to do what you're doing. Take care of your, of your family. Or, give your Delta wife my love, because I've got mom, sister, 5 aunts, stepmother. Okay, we got it from beginning to end.
Oh, I understand. No, trust me. I love the Deltas, the AKs, but remember, alphas, everybody's daddy. So it's all good. It's all good. It's all good in the hood. But I call it. I always tell them, you got to remember, is Alpha and the Divine 8, just in case. I'm gonna leave you with this one.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say I'm old school. I am pre-shimmy. Okay. So
you pre-shimmy.
Yes, my dad too, and I made my dad. So look, Roland, continue to be safe. I'm sure we'll be soon. And of course, this is HUR at Home, talking to Roland Martin. I'll be back next Tuesday with more conversation with our newsmakers. Again, Roland, thank you so much. Be safe.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Take care.
All righty.